Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. Welcome to another video in my series, Stampin' Up! Scrapbooking. Today I will create a 12 by 12 sketch-inspired layout featuring Stampin' Up's Painterly Pairs collection. It's a brand new online exclusive collection that was just released a few days ago, actually, on July 1st, 2025. Everything I use will be listed below, along with my link to Stampin' Up. If you live in Canada and use the link, I will get a commission. If you have a local demonstrator, please support him or her. But if you don't and something catches your eye, thank you very, very much. So let's get started. You can see I double matted 2 photos in advance. I also have that Painterly Pairs paper pack spanned out on my table. This is my first time digging into it. There are 12 papers, 6 different papers, so 2 of each, and you can see each design is face up. I also have the stamp and die bundle. Now these come in separate packages. I've packaged mine together, and there are glittery adhesive dots. There's also a ribbon. The color is Mossy Meadow, and there's a bit of gold in it as well. I don't end up using that. I do end up using some other tools, however. I have this Weekend Adventure stamp set. I'll be using that for my title. And there's also a die set called Nested Essentials. I'll be using that as well. So in a moment, I am going to show you that I prepared my frame style foundation page in advance. I'm just digging it out right now, and I used 3 papers for that. So you can see, in addition to the white, the back, I gutted them. So the back 2 papers I gutted. There is a tutorial on my channel where I explain how to do that. So that's going to be listed and linked below. Those are the papers that are in my foundation page. So the green is Mossy Meadow, the blue is Secret Sea, and both of them are 2-tone cardstock from Stampin' Up. Now, I want to show you the pattern paper I selected for today's project. So I have this floral and pear paper. I absolutely love it. I find it so striking with that dark Secret Sea background. I'm also going to be using the flip side, and that yellow color is called Darling Duckling, something like that. And the green is basically a tone on tone of Mossy Meadow. So all of those are part of that Painterly Pairs paper pack. I'm showing you as well, of course, I do have the scraps handy. Those were gutted from behind the foundation page. And now I want to show you my jumping off point. On page 28 of the 2025-2026 annual catalog, there are 8 scrapbooking sketches. So I'm pointing out the one that is my inspiration piece. It basically has a big banner, a horizontal photo, a circular element, and some journaling. Couple pages before, there are some other sketches as well. Those are for cards and tags. And what I'm going to do right now is just tidy all of this up and get out my trimmer and start cutting up paper for my foundation page. Now already I've made a few changes from the sketch. The sketch is my jumping off point. I put a frame around my page. The sketch doesn't have one. The sketch has 1 horizontal photo. I have 2 vertical photos, and the sketch has 1 wide banner. I will have several banners. So what I've done here so far is cut up 3 4-inch strips of paper. I want to turn these into banners. I'm getting out these Hexagon dies. Mine are from Close to My Heart. Stampin' Up! Has Hexagon dies as well. I think they are an online product, so I will list them and link them below. But basically, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm positioning the Hexagon just at the end of my strip of paper. I am holding it in place with a little bit of low tack adhesive. Then what I'm going to do is run it through my die cutting machine, and you're going to see out pops a really nice little banner. My paper was a little bit too wide for my die, so I just had to snip a tiny bit off each end. I am going to do this to all 3 papers. I don't make you watch it, but what I end up doing off camera is I trim down these banners because I want them to all be at different lengths. Also, what I'm going to do is add ink to all of these pieces of paper. And the ink I'm going to be getting out is called Morning Mist by VersaFine Clair. It is a smoky gray ink. So I'm going to ink this up. I do not make you watch me do all of these. And when I come back, you're going to see I did a little bit more work. So you're going to see the top of these banners. There will be a little embossed stitching across the top of each one of these banners. And I'm going to show you the die set I used to do that. I used a really old die set. What's it called here? It's called Stitched Labels Framelits. And there's one die with just one straight stitching. I haven't used it in a long time, but for some reason I thought of it, and I'm really glad I did. So I did that to the top of each one of those banners, just having another look at the sketch, showing you that I'm going to have 4 banners instead of 1 like on the sketch. I'm also showing you that the journaling on the sketch is in the bottom left. That's where mine's going to be. And there's also a circular element in the top right. Now I punched out a 6-inch circle with that punch I just showed you. It was from Creative Memory. So that's going to be my circular element. If you don't have that punch, obviously you can use any circular element or any shape you want really up in that corner. So now I'm placing all of my parts on the page. You can see the banners are all kind of bumped towards the left, like on the sketch, only I have 4 banners instead of just 1. So I am layering them up. They are all at different lengths at the top and at the bottom. And I also tucked in that circular element in the top right of the photo. Now what I have to do is just trim down that banner with the journaling. It was just a little bit too long. And I'm also going to take that pencil and make a few little marks on my foundation page because I like how this looks. So what I want to do is make a mark just to indicate where to adhere the green banner, where to adhere the yellow banner, and where to adhere that floral banner. So I just put a little dot and I will cover it up when I actually adhere it to the page. So I'm going to speed this up quite a bit, but basically I start with the green, then I go to the far right and I will adhere the yellow, and then the floral one basically overlaps these 2 banners. And like the bottom, as they are all at different lengths, at the top, I have them kind of staggered as well. Much more slightly, but they are staggered. So off camera, I continued adhering all of that. I didn't press down too hard on the photos because I am going to want to add some embellishing. But first, before embellishing, I do want to create some embellishments. I want to do some stamping. So I'm getting out this Perfectly Pairs stamp set, and I'm starting with the double small pairs there. The ink I'm using is Old Olive. So these are 2-step stamps. I'm starting with the biggest part of the pair, so the color of the pair, and I'm stamping them out. I'm just doing this as a sample for you. I will do more off camera. After the color's down, then what I have to do is stamp out the outline. So I am going to do that in a black ink. The black ink I will be using is Nocturne by VersaFine Claire. And you're going to see my head completely covers the stamping area because in order for me to stamp right on top of those pairs, I have to be right on top of it. So sorry about that. You're going to see I did a pretty good job. When I did the second one, I was a little bit offside, but it's the type of stamp that even when you make a mistake, it's really not a big deal because it has kind of a distressed look, which is actually quite nice. It has more of a textured, realistic look. Now the leaves aren't colored in, so what you're going to see me get out is a Stampin' Blend marker. I have dark Old Olive, and I'm just going to color those little leaves in, that's all. So I just wanted to give you an idea of my process here. I only do one of them here on camera, and I will die cut these off camera. I do want to do a bit more stamping, but there is a die in this set that fits perfectly that stamp with the pairs and the leaves. So now what I'm doing is I'm getting out this Petal Pink 2-tone cardstock. I'm just going to use that same black ink. And in that stamp set, there's a little grouping of 3 small flowers. So I stamp a few of those out. And there's another stamp that stamps 3 centers for these flowers all at once. Now you may wonder, why isn't it all part of one stamp set? Well, by having them in 2 stamps, you can make the centers different colors. So I did that. I will die cut those off camera, and now I'm going to get out a little bit of that Mossy Meadow 2-tone cardstock as well. And one of the stamps is an outline for leaves. Now this one does have a stamp for the innards, but I decided to do it on green cardstock instead. That's why I'm just stamping the outline, and I will die cut all of that off camera. What I want to do right now is create my title. So I'm getting out this Weekend Adventures stamp set, and I am going to stamp out things to do and places to see. This stamp set is intended for scrapbooking. I love these stamp sets. Stampin' Up! Has several of them. They're nice, big sentiments, and they are meant for titles. The ink color I am using is Mossy Meadow, so I'm just going to stamp it on this white cardstock, and I'm going to use those nested essentials dies that you see just to my right there. So I will do that off camera as well. I'm just going to select which die I need to cut out the title, because there are, I think, 4 different sizes there. So there I have it on top, and there's the perfect size for this title. So I will do all of this die cutting off camera, and I do more die cutting as well, and you're going to see I come back with all of my embellishments. So we're going to have a quick flip through of all of my embellishments, and you can see I did stamp out some more pears. So I have some that are done in that olive, old olive, I should say. And the other one, the pink one, is called Petal Pink. I find them very, very pretty. You're also going to see, I'm just showing you the other ink there. You're also going to see as well, I did cut out those flowers there. So I have a bunch of those. And when I did those, I used both sides of that two-tone cardstock as well, that Petal Pink. So that just gave me a bit of a variation in color. I did stamp out some of the larger pears, but I don't end up using them. And those are the little leaves that I stamped and die cut as well. Those are meant for the larger pears. I was hoping they were for the flowers, but they're not. Anyway, no big deal. You're going to see I end up using them anyway. In addition to that, there are some standalone dies in this die set. So I'm getting out this vine here, and I cut a bunch of those out in that Mossy Meadow two-tone cardstock. Those are extremely detailed. They cut out very easily, but they are very fine and detailed. Also, there is a netting, and I cut that out in a cardstock. The color is basic beige. So that will add some nice texture to the clusters. So of course, I cut out my title there. I'm quite happy with that, and I will bring out the ink again. That ink that I used is Mossy Meadow. I do have a few spots where I can put that title. Now, I do end up putting it in the top right, but it could have gone underneath that large photo as well. This is another stamp set I use. It's called Textured Timber. It's an old retired stamp set from Stampin' Up. And you can see inside my stamp box, I already have stamped some log rounds, and I have it in a few different colors, so I just toss those in my embellishment tray as well. Here's the ribbon that's part of this Painterly Pears collection. It's gorgeous, but I don't end up using it on this page. I also have those glittery adhesive dots. And now what I'm going to do is start building my cluster. So the plan here is to build a cluster around my title in the top right, and another one towards the bottom just on the right-hand side of the journaling. So I'm going to start by adding these log rounds in each one. I'm just trying to decide which one I want. I decide to go with a darker one. So those ones were stamped out in early espresso ink, so like a really dark brown. So I put those in each one of the areas as a cluster base, and then I'm going to start building. Now I do have quite a bit of trouble building my clusters. You may see that I'm kind of fighting a bit with these vines. They are really beautiful, but they are so fine and detailed. When I try to put one beside the other, they keep getting caught up in each other. Also, in addition to that, I have that netting that I die cut. So that is another detailed piece. When I put that in, it gets even worse. I'm used to moving around chunky pieces when I'm building clusters, but these are anything but chunky. At one point, I end up losing battery, and you're going to see I come back and this cluster is built. It's not adhered, but it's built, and it's probably a saving grace because I spent a long time and I really couldn't move my stuff around. If I were to do this all over again with these really fine detailed pieces, I think I would just start adhering right away, which is not my typical way of building a cluster, but it was very difficult because I couldn't move things around. That is where I lost the battery. You can see I kind of have a cluster built towards the top of that journaling. Basically the leaves, the netting, the flowers, the pears. But once again, I'm just kind of tossing everything to the side and I'm going to have to build this again. So I sped this part up quite a bit because it took me 9 minutes just to adhere this cluster, which is really very, very long for me. So I started with the log round, which is the largest bit. I'm waiting to do the title at this point because I have stuff that I want to come out from underneath it. Now I'm adhering my leaves, and I'm using that Sticky Specs adhesive. You can see it on my left. It's like a white wax paper that I lift. When I lift, there's a yellow paper. It's a sticky paper underneath. That's where I place my detailed die cut, and it picks up the adhesive. So I did that for a lot of those really fine detailed leaves. So I put a lot of those coming out from underneath the title. Then I adhered my title. I'm not sure if I've done it already. At one point I put foam adhesive behind my title, then I removed it, and then towards the end I actually put a little bit more foam adhesive underneath my title. So I'm a little bit indecisive there, but I don't know if you can look at those titles, or look at that cluster, you will see it at the end. Basically, I have leaves coming out from underneath the title. I have that netting underneath the title. I have the pear overlapping, and I also have some of those pale pink flowers as well in 2 spots there. Now I'm moving down to that cluster at the bottom. So starting with that log round, which kind of overlaps the journaling, now coming in with some leaves. This one was actually much easier. Number one, there's not as many pieces in it. I also have the experience from adhering the cluster at the top, and it's just simply smaller. So I put in a few leaves on top of those log rounds along with some of that netting, and I do end up coming in with some of those pink flowers as well. Now those die cut leaves that I did that are meant for the larger pears, I did it on that Mossy Meadow cardstock. I end up actually coming in with my scissors and trimming them because those were meant for the larger pears, so they weren't spaced properly. Anyway, I ended up kind of trimming them with my scissors and tucking them within my embellishment clusters anyway. I'm actually getting pretty close to the end here, and you're going to see in a moment I do come in with just a few finishing touches, and mostly it's with those little glittery dots there. I will get them out in a minute, and I do kind of place them around the page, and in the end you're going to see where I end up putting them is just on top of that banner that has the journaling there. I'm just additioning a few different colors, but basically that's it. I'm basically at the end of my layout. So in addition to adding those glittery dots, what I ended up doing was adding more leaves just beneath the title. And if you look in that title area as well, I did some stamping, those backdrop splatter stamps. It was actually one stamp that was in that Painterly Pears collection as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Have a great day, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.